Spotted it 420.
I drove by and I said, hey, how you guys doing? And they looked at me, go, hey, Charlie, how you doing? I go, better.
All right, let's call this meeting to order. The time has now come. Good evening. Welcome to the April 14th meeting of Sac Metro Fire District. I'd like to start by asking Director Clark to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Director Clark. The Metro Cable announcement, the open session meeting is videotaped for cablecast on Metro Cable 14. Replay will be on Saturday, April 16th at 12 noon, and Sunday, April 17th at 12 noon on Channel 14. Webcast at dub.sacmetrocable.tv. The open session meetings are also available for viewing on the district website at dub.metrofire.ca.gov. Madam Clerk, are there any speakers?
There are no speakers this evening.
No speakers. All right, thank you. Then we'll move ahead to the consent agenda. Board member?
Mr. Chairman, if it pleases the group, I would move that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Call for the vote.
Director Gould,
Aye.
Wood,
Aye.
Barnes,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Kelly, Jones, and Scheidegger.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Under action items, we're going to go to action item number 1. I've been informed that action item 2 we're going to hold until after the closed session. So action item 1, Chief Wells.
Good evening, directors. Tonight's action item is actually an item of business that was, we were basically overcharged. I don't want to read the entire staff report here to you, but it was basically done in the federal court system in a civil action in Perez versus Stericycle. Over the years, that business has done our medical waste for us. And so in the process of this civil action, it was a whistleblower complaint against Stericycle. And it basically, they were overcharging for their services, and they weren't notifying the customers of the additional charges. And so what happened in this, in a global settlement, Metro Fire was to be awarded $33,629. It's a multiplier basically of 2.27, which was applied to each of the individuals in this class action lawsuit. We were overcharged by about $17,399. I would say that we actually use them continually for some of our medical waste because they purchased the company that we went to, Waste Management, apparently. And so we have a great track record with them at this point, but it's our recommendation tonight that the board accept the settlement terms and the pro rata share of the proceeds in the amount of $33,629.68, and this would dismiss the case.
All right, thank you. Any questions?
Mr. Chair?
A motion? Yes.
Yes, I would like to make a motion that we approve staff's recommendation to accept the settlement terms and the pro rata share of proceeds amounting to $33,629.68.
Thank you, Director. Is there a second? Second. Moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, the vote, please.
Director Gould,
Aye.
Wood,
Aye.
Barnes,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Kelly,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
and Scheidegger.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to reports. President's report. I have nothing to report. Fire Chief's report.
Thank you again. My comments will be somewhat brief tonight. Of course, we have ongoing negotiations with Local 522. We had the opportunity yesterday, we had our awards breakfast where we recognized our annual recipients of the Employee of the Year, both in the suppression and in the support services. Russell Gardner and Matthew Davies were respectively awarded those. 17 different individuals were awarded for their for their great service as peer recognition awards. And also then we had a company citation for our medic crew that we spoke about in this very chamber, and some heroic efforts where they saved an individual on a house fire over in the Rosemont area. And then, of course, we recognized firefighter Aiello on his excellent work on a wildland incident up with the hotshot crew this last summer. So that was a great event, well attended by our staff and crews, and I sincerely thank Director Gould for participating in that with us as well. So that was a good event. Tomorrow night is our annual retirement dinner at 5:30 p.m. at the Croatian Center over on Auburn Boulevard. And we had over 33 people retire last year, so we're looking forward to that. On the 16th, which is Saturday night, our own Assistant Chief Ellis will be participating in the Arden Arcade Rotary event. And I know BC Turner is well involved in that through Rotary. It's the Horsepower and Hold'em Poker Tournament at the Mercedes dealership in their showroom, so that's always a good event. Next week on the 18th, I will be on KFBK again at 8:12 in the morning. And we'll be talking on water safety and drowning prevention tips for parents. Obviously, we're coming into that time of year, and I already have suffered some incidents. The preliminary budget meeting the first meeting of our preliminary 16-17 budget will be on the 26th of April. And then on the 30th of April at 10:30 a.m. at Sunrise Mall, there is a Dare to Prepare event that is being hosted by FEMA, the IMSA, Cal OES, the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors, and the City of Citrus Heights, and that'll be at Sunrise Mall at 10:30 in the morning on the 30th. We are out recruiting for administrative specialists for the Community Risk Reduction Division, and that'll be internal-only applicants for the final filing date. Let's see, that was on the 8th, and then we have the Deputy Fire Marshal promotional examination, I believe is tomorrow. And then we would have the office technician final filing date of tomorrow at 4 p.m. also. I'd like to recognize engineer Terry Melhoff, retired on the 31st of March after 27 years of service, and engineer John Gormley, 22 years of service, and his effective retirement date was on April 1st. And a new hire as Fire Inspector 1 is Mark Morris in the Community Risk Reduction Division. So we're excited to have him as part of our team. That will conclude my remarks unless you have any questions.
Questions? Thank you, Chief. Chief Bridge.
Good evening, Board. President Scheidegger.
Good evening.
Eric Bridge, Operations Chief. I'm here to report out our dispatches since our last board meeting on March 24th. EMS, we had a total of 3,172 dispatches, and we transported 74% of those. AMR also been helping out with the 2 additional units since then, and dispatched to 216 calls and transported 145 of them. And we've also, in addition, had 11 structure fires since our last board meeting. So if you have any questions, otherwise, that concludes my brief report.
Questions? Thank you, Chief. Council Lavra?
No report at this time.
Thank you. Anyone here from 522? No. Okay. Thank you. Committee and delegate reports. The executive committee met tonight. We discussed matters related to the fire chief selection process. And our next meeting will be we'll need to determine when it'll be. Communication Center, JPA, Chief Bridge?
Yeah, Chief Castantino report out for me.
Oh, okay.
The sub as I was out of town at that time.
Hi, Chief.
Good evening, Board and President Scheidegger. Greg Castantini, Assistant Chief Fire Marshal. The Communications JPA met on March 29th. We received the first draft of the preliminary budget, and we reviewed it, and there was a recommendation back to the staff to continue working on their process, and they were going to send it to 2 additional Finance Committee meetings for review. The next meeting is scheduled for April 26th with a special board meeting of May 2nd. End of report. Any questions?
Questions? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
California Fire and Rescue, Director Kelly.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the Fire and Rescue Training JPA has not met since I last reported out. We will be meeting again next Thursday on the 21st here at the Exercise Simulation Center.
Thank you. Finance Committee, Director Wood.
Yes, the Finance and Audit Committee has not met since we last met, since I last reported out. And our next meeting will be Thursday, April 28th at 5 o'clock in this room.
We'll look forward to that, thanks. Policy Committee, Director Gould.
Policy Committee was postponed for a meeting this evening and will reconvene on May 12th at 5 p.m.
All right, thank you, Director. Board member questions and comments. Director Jones.
Thank you very much. I had the pleasure and the responsibility for attending the Cap to Cap event sponsored by the Metro Chamber this past week. And I cannot say enough about the leadership from Metro staff at this event. Assistant Chief Maurice Johnson, Captain Paramedic Scott Perryman did an outstanding job. Director Woods and I tried to keep up with them. Excuse me for that comment, Director Woods, but they just were out front each and every time. I was so proud of Metro Fire because of everybody's staff, everyone's effort for interconnecting both the whole world of hospitals, the world of law enforcement. Director Barnes, we had an excellent law enforcement representative as well on our group. It shows me the dynamic, the synergistic effect that will happen when the opportunity is presented. And that opportunity has been presented to Metro. That's truly the way I feel, is that we are a great binder and connector for all these events. So we're talking about everything from field ops, hospital operations, as well as potential fixes, long-term fixes to our medical care delivery system in this region. And again, I cannot say how proud I am of the leadership that Metro Fire has shown in this very, very complex area.
Thank you, Director. Director Kelly?
No questions or comments, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. Director Clark?
I have no questions or comments, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Director Gould?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, as I was listening to Assistant Chief Casentini, I thought, I wonder if in the future we might come full circle with some of the applicants that come before the board that are asking for decisions at the board level for, you know, code violations or what have you. We never really closed that circle and finding out exactly what happened after the appeals. And so I'm just wondering if in the future we might be able to have a report after that appeal and whatever the consequence is, and maybe have us be informed of what the long-term impact was to those appellants as they come before the board. So I just, as I drove past the facility of recent appeals, I saw some changes and some differences, and I just, you know, it'd be nice for this board to get the information that kind of closes that loop. So if that could be maybe looked at in the future as we make that ultimate decision, I'd always like to know what the consequences were in the end. Beyond that, I'm glad to hear there was some positive talk that came from Cap to Cap. I think that's a good thing. And thank you very much, all the men and women and everybody, frankly, that does such great work at this institution. It was wonderful to be at the awards banquet yesterday and to see all the hard work and to hear about the depth of these people and everything that they're doing even outside of Metro. One young man, I guess I can call him a young man, but you know, to be a head football coach and be a full-time firefighter is just phenomenal. And that just shows you the impact that the men and women of this organization have in the community. So kudos to all of those recipients. It was an honor to be there. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Director Gould, on your request for updates, are you asking that there be like a quarterly report
Well,
sort of thing,
I think
or
because
periodic?
I think we see these appeals so infrequently. I don't think we need to do quarterly. I just would like, if somebody appeals a decision that's been made and we are the ultimate adjudicator, so to speak, it'd just be nice to know in a reasonable timeline, once the staff know what the end result was, that comes back to us. So when we're in the community and interacting with people, you know, they come up to us and they ask us, well, why'd you do that? And we can say, well, here was the end result, which was a more positive, safe kind of thing, but not knowing. I don't know, you know, did that property sell and go under, you know, those kind of things. And so I think it's just helpful for the policymakers up here that when we have to adjudicate, that we get some follow-up.
Okay, so not regularly scheduled?
No, just whenever the
Okay.
staff feel like that particular scenario has closed and Metro's involvement has somewhat lessened, that they could agendize that and come before us and give us a brief update of what came of that.
So Chief, perhaps you could ask your staff to give us some sort of an update at
No, absolutely. We'll look into that and potentially as a presentation item or something as a follow-up.
thank you. Director Barnes?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The only thing I have is just want to wish the ones who were announced tonight as retirement good luck in their next chapter of their life. After that long of service, they've earned every bit of that. Also, thank you for the fire camp information. Look forward to that. It's great when you can teach young kids some valuable lessons and get them interested in the field of firefighting. So thank you.
Good, thank you. Director Wood?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Like Director Jones said, I was honored to attend Cap to Cap and represent Metro Fire this last week, last few days. She's already covered some of the substantive things, but I just want to let the chief know the sophistication, the skills, the knowledge demonstrated by Captain Perryman and Assistant Chief Johnson were just phenomenal. It demonstrates that we've got some great future leaders in our organization, and I was very proud for everything they did, both during scheduled meetings and the ad hoc meetings that occurred during the downtimes, I guess you could call it. Also want to say thank you to the staff from Representatives Barra, LaMalfa, Matsui, Garamendi, and Senator Feinstein for the time they gave us, and for all of the time that Sutter, Kaiser, and representatives from Sac County gave us offline too. It was very useful, very constructive. And on a personal note, Station 61 had come to my daughter's preschool yesterday. Carrie Huppert, the director there, she was very grateful for their efforts. They split the time between the medics and the engine because the engine was on a call. But she did mention, she didn't get the last name, but the captain, Alex, she couldn't say enough good things about him and how he interacted with the kids, showing them what the different things were. And when I picked up my daughter this afternoon, talked to a few of the kids about it, and all of them were very impressed with how many hoses a fire truck has, actually. So, and lastly, Carrie, the director there, both of her sons attended fire camp when they were younger, and her oldest is now at Sierra, come back from the military and at Sierra College, working on getting his paramedic certificate because he wants to work at Metro, remembering the experiences they had at fire camp. So, again, thank you for the materials, and I'll be promoting, I was going to say a different word, but promoting fire camp as well throughout my territory.
I believe that it might have been Captain Trevino.
Oh, thank you, Captain.
Great.
All right. Thank you for those comments. I think with that, we'll adjourn and move to closed session. All right, I think we're all here. We'll reconvene, and I'll ask council to report out, please.
Thank you, Director. The board met in closed session for a conference with its labor negotiator for the bargaining units identified in the closed session agenda. No action was taken. The board also met in closed session to discuss personnel matters, one involving the fire chief selection. No action was taken, but the board will consider here tonight an action item with respect to the voting upon the fire chief job description. The board also met in closed session to discuss a personnel issue under Government Code Section 54957 B1. No action was taken.
Thank you, Council Lavra. All right, we'll return then to action item number 2. Chief Wells, were you going to cover that? The fire chief job description?
Yes, thank you. In closed session, we discussed the job description for the fire chief. We made a minor adjustment on pagination, page 54 in the packet. And we wanted to have on page 3 of 5 of that particular policy or job description, read to say chief officer level experience with increasingly responsible fire service management and local government firefighting and prevention that would provide broad and extensive experience in administrative supervisorial capacity. So it is the recommendation of staff to approve the job description as it reads in the packet.
Thank you, Chief. Are there any questions from board members?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we adopt.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. Board Clerk, the vote, please.
Dr. Gould.
Aye.
Wood. Aye. Barnes.
Aye.
Kelly.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
And Scheidegger.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. There being no further business before this board, we will adjourn. Our next meeting will be April 28th, right here at 6 o'clock. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Oh, I will.